So, you've got decades of hard-won professional experience. You know you are sitting on a massive, massive asset. But let's be honest, the path from having that expertise to actually turning it into a profitable business, well, it can feel a little fuzzy, right? In this explainer, we're going to lay out a really practical guide, specifically for experienced pros like you who are ready to build something new, and on your own terms.
Okay, let's just get right to the heart of it. This is the one question that stops so many seasoned professionals right in their tracks. It's not about whether you're capable. You've already proven that over an entire career. It's really about translation. How do you take all that value locked up in your head and package it in a way that the market not only gets it, but actually wants to pay you for it?
Over the next few minutes, we're going to walk through a really clear strategic roadmap. We'll kick things off with the biggest mindset shift you have to make. Then we'll figure out what you can actually sell. After that, we'll talk about why getting super specific is your superpower, how to structure the business, and finally, the exact first steps you can take. Seriously, by the end of this, you are going to have a clear path to turn all that experience into a real business.
Okay, let's dive into this first crucial mindset shift. I can't stress this enough. This is the foundation that everything else gets built on. And, getting this right from the very beginning is going to save you months, if not years, of frustration.
Here it is. This is the biggest trap that people fall into. We think our expertise is defined by our old job titles. Oh, I was a VP of marketing, or I was a director of human resources. And look, it's comfortable, it's familiar, but here's the hard truth. The market doesn't hire a resume, it hires a result. Your job title is just proof you've done the work, but it's not the product. The actual product is the solution to a specific, painful, and usually expensive problem.
So, how does this big mindset shift actually help you find what you can sell? Well, it's all about mining your own history, looking for those hidden assets you might be completely taking for granted. This is where the real value is hiding in plain sight.
Now this slide really says it all, doesn't it? Look at the contrast. The statement on the left, I have 25 years in financial services, that's passive. It's a line on a resume that gets you a polite nod. But the statement on the right, that's active. It speaks directly to a client who has a very specific, very expensive fear. It makes them lean in and say, tell me more. One describes your past, the other promises their future. And that is the difference between just having a background and actually having a business. So how do you find that result-focused offer? Let's just walk through this super simple process. Step 1. I want you to completely forget your job description. Instead, think about this. What were the 5 messes that always seem to land on your desk? You know, the things that people brought to you because you were the person who could fix them? That's where your true value is. Then, step 2 is just about validation. Are companies today still wrestling with these things? And, this is the important part, are they paying money to solve them? The answer is almost always a resounding yes.
And look, this isn't just some hopeful theory. The financial case for this is backed up by some serious data from the National Bureau of Economic Research. They're a major nonprofit that really digs into how the economy works. What they found is that experienced professionals who go independent aren't just starting a little hobby. No way. They are often creating a much more lucrative career path than the one they left behind.
Okay, so once you know the problems you solve, the next critical step is to package that expertise for a very specific audience. Now, I know this can feel a little counterintuitive. It might feel like you're shrinking your market, but I promise you, this is the real secret to accelerating your growth.
You know, the natural instinct for most of us is to stay broad, to try to appeal to everyone, but that is a huge strategic mistake. Think about it. When you say something like, I help businesses with marketing, who are you really talking to? You just become invisible, another voice in a giant sea of consultants. But when you become the go-to expert for a very specific problem, well, now the right clients can spot you from a mile away. And this right here, this is the framework for creating that specificity. This isn't just a tagline, you guys. It's a business strategy packed into a single sentence. For instance, let's say you're from HR. You don't just do HR consulting. No, you help fast-growing tech startups build their first ever performance review system so they can retain top talent. You see the power in that? Every single one of those brackets is a critical decision.
And the financial impact of making this decision? It is absolutely undeniable. Research shows that specialists are more than 3 times as likely to command premium fees for their projects. And why is that? Well, because when a client has a really specific, high-stakes problem, they don't go looking for a jack of all trades. They search for the one expert who lives and breathes that exact problem, and they are more than happy to pay a premium for that focused expertise.
So let me be crystal clear about this. Specializing is not about limiting your opportunities.
It's about accelerating them. A narrow focus acts like a magnet for your ideal clients. It's a justification for premium pricing, and it becomes a filter that brings you high-quality referrals, because now people know exactly who to send your way.
All right, let's move on to the practical side of things, how you're actually going to deliver your expertise. And this isn't about what sounds the most fun or appealing. It's about what your clients actually need from you to get the result that you've promised them. Your delivery model, it's a structural decision that really hinges on this one question. I'm going to repeat it because it's that important. Does your client need your direct involvement to get results, or can your expertise be documented and taught? Your honest answer to that question is going to point you directly to the right business model for you. So this table really lays out the trade-offs pretty clearly. Consulting is, by far, the fastest way to get revenue in the door because you're selling your direct involvement. Coaching can be a bit more scalable, meaning you can serve more clients through things like group programs. And then you have courses, which have the highest potential income ceiling, but they also require the most upfront work. And frankly, you usually need an existing audience to sell to.
You know, for most people making this transition, the most practical and logical starting point is a focused consulting offer. Why? Because it validates your positioning, it solves a real problem for a real client, and it generates income that you can use to fund other models later on. The idea is to prove the model before you build the machine.
All right, let's bring all this home. We've covered the strategy, we've covered the models. Now let's get really focused on the immediate actions that are going to move you from just thinking about this to actually doing it.
First, can we just pause on this number for a second? That same research from the NBR found that experienced professionals who go independent earn, on average, 70% more than their salaried peers. The financial upside for those who get the positioning right is absolutely significant.
So to wrap this up, let's talk about the common pitfalls, the things that really trip people up, resisting the urge to specialize, talking about your resume instead of your client's results, and, oh, this is a big one, building a beautiful online course before you have a single person who has paid you for your expertise. If you can just avoid these 3 mistakes, you will be ahead of 90% of people who are starting out.
So what can you do right now, today? This isn't homework. This is about building momentum. First, take 20 minutes and just draft your positioning statement using that formula we talked about. It's going to force you to be clear. Second, find a community of your peers. The Retirepreneur Hub offers free guides and a network built specifically for professionals on this exact same journey.
We'll end with this thought. The gap you need to cross, it isn't one of capability. You've got 30 years of that. The real gap is in translating that capability into a clear, compelling offer. Your expertise is already a valuable asset. So the only question left to answer is, what is the single, specific problem you can get paid to solve? You answer that, and you've just started your business.